Hello, everyone. My name is James Harstad. Hope everybody's having a good day. By raise of hands, I'd just like to start it off by asking who in here is under the age of 40? Presumably most of us, right? It's a college class. Most people are under the age of 40. And so, what if I were to tell you that within our lifetimes, we will more than likely see the world around us change more than it has since the dawn of mankind? Pretty crazy, right? The event that I'm talking about here is called the technological singularity. But before I get started in that, a little about me. My name, again, is James Harstad. I'm a computer science major here at Winona State University. And one of the main fascinations that I have with computers is in the realm of artificial intelligence. Uh, and within that realm, there's a handful of experts who believe in a hypothetical point in time where artificial intelligence will not only meet human intelligence, but will exceed human intelligence. And so that's what we're talking about today. But before I get into anything else along those lines, I think we really do need to take a brief look at human history in general. And in order to do that, I'm going to take us back 2.6 million years ago to when mankind first started using tools. And those tools were, excuse me, stone tools. Okay? We're talking hammer stones, sharp rocks, really rudimentary type stuff. And we stayed with those hand tools, those rock tools, for a little less than a million years until about 1.76 million years ago. I'm getting all these dates, by the way, from the Smithsonian Museum of Natural History. This is all stuff you can look up yourself. But about 1.76 million years ago, we decided that we would attach those stones onto sticks and make axes and large cutting utensils so that we could reach fruit further up on branches and, hunt more efficiently and things like that. And we stuck with that for over a million years until about 200,000 years ago when we started making spears and awls and scrapers so that we could tan hide. An owl, by the way, is not like the bird owl, but it's a stabbing utensil used to poke holes through hides. Anyways, that was about 200,000 years ago. And then relatively recently, about 6,000 years ago, is when we came into the Bronze Age, and then we eventually came into the Iron Age. And then we stayed with metal tools for a long time, a couple thousand years. And then about 300 years ago was when we really started to delve into the intricacies of electricity. Which electricity. Uh, and so that was about 300 years ago is when Benjamin Franklin is largely the one credited for the discovery of electricity and how to use it. There's a lot of discussion about it, but that's not the point. Um, we've only really started implementing electricity on a wide scale about 100 years ago. That's the light bulbs in our house, the power lines, XYZ. And so about 80 years ago, though, was the birth of the electric programmable computer. And from that point on, it has grown exponentially to the point where we are now, where we all have a smartphone in our pocket that, as we all know, is hundreds, if not thousands, of times more powerful than the computers that they used to land man on the moon for the first time, which is pretty incredible. I know that we all kind of know that, and that kind of takes away from that point, but in the grand scheme of things, that's pretty impressive. So, that brings me to Moore's Law, which is that uh, Moore's Law is the observation that the number of transistors in a dense integrated circuit doubles about every 2 years. And that's just a fancy way of saying that the power of processors doubles every 2 years because we can fit more processing power on the same chip. And that's exactly why our smartphones are as powerful as they are compared to the spaceships of the lunar landing. We have more powerful computers inside of them because we can make smaller and smaller parts that fit on those boards. Um, and so eventually, there is a hypothesis that we are going to get to a point where we are able to make these computers not only as smart as human beings, but more smarter than human beings. Um, and that brings me to this John von Neumann quote. He was the kind of the first man out there that kind of coined the term singularity, but I don't know if he did it intentionally, but that's what the history books say. And John von Neumann said, "The accelerating progress of technology and the changes in the mode of human life which gives the appearance of approaching some essential singularity in the history of race beyond which human affairs as we know them could not continue." That's just a fancy way of saying that eventually technology is going to take off without us by virtue of an artificial intelligence who is able to learn and then fix itself, making it therefore faster, which then makes it go back and able to fix itself more efficiently, which then makes it faster. And the nature of exponential growth is that way. So we already see various types of artificial intelligence in the world today. One example of which being Deep Blue, which is the first artificially intelligent chess player to beat the grand champion of the world, who I believe was Gary Kasparov at the time. Correct me if I'm wrong. And we see more and more of those coming about every day. We see AlphaGo by Google. We see, I believe, an AI just defeated the League of Legends champion 2-0 at the last League of Legends championships. And so we're starting to see more of them. But the reason that these are called narrow artificial intelligence is because they have a very specific job that they can accomplish. If you asked Deep Blue, the chess robot, to read a dictionary and tell you a word out of it, it would be lost. It doesn't even have the concept of thought to be able to do something like that. That type of ability is what is known as artificial general intelligence. And artificial general intelligence is when the intelligence of AI reaches the mental capacities of a human being. Now, here's the interesting thing. Once we reach that level, and we can then teach an artificial intelligence things, that artificial intelligence would probably be able to go back into its coding or whatever and be able to fix itself. And that kind of runs that feedback loop that I was talking about earlier, where it would be able to improve upon itself and then, use those improvements to then improve upon itself and so on and so forth. And so there are some estimations that the amount of time it would take for an AGI to first be made until it is actually smarter than all of mankind put together would only be a matter of weeks, if not less. So it's pretty impressive. And that sort of intelligence, the intelligence that is almost so powerful that it's incomprehensible to humankind, is what we now know as super intelligent AI. Super intelligent AI is what you see in all the movies. And so you might be asking, okay, well, what does that mean for humanity? And for that, I would like to just kind of go through a quick list of the pros and cons. One of the outcomes is immortality. We would have an artificially intelligent robot that could, through medical breakthroughs that it has discovered, keep us alive forever. It could bring about world peace. There could be human AI hybrids. The possibilities are truly endless. And if I sound like a cult leader right now, I apologize ahead of time for that. Because it is not all peaches and cream, unfortunately. There are many opponents to this. And the reasons are many also. One of which, as I'm sure we are all aware of, is they could turn on us. They could go and decide human beings need to be extinct. And there's all kinds of pop culture references I could make here. Terminator, iRobot, whatever. And it should be noted that one of the main spokesmen of these dangers is none other than Stephen Hawking, who in 2014, during an interview with BBC, stated, "The development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race. It would take off on its own and redesign itself at an ever-increasing rate. Humans, who are limited by slow biological evolution, couldn't compete and would be superseded." So it is pretty scary stuff. A lot of it is speculatory in nature. So we don't even know what it's going to eventually come to. Despite this, though, there is one thing that pretty much everybody agrees upon at this point, and that is that superintelligent AI is coming. And when it gets here, there will be no controlling it. And so with that, if you have any other curiosities about this, I would urge you to visit the Reddit subreddit, rather, Singularity, or there's the uncertainfuture.com, where you can, in a way, simulate kind of how AI would take over the world. It's a fun little application, but um, that's all I have for today. So barring any questions, thank you very much for attending my lecture, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.